everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Now today I have got a bit of an announcement to make, which, let's be honest, you've probably already guessed it by the title of this video, but I am pregnant. So yeah, I am expecting my first baby, and you know what, it feels so good to actually say it out loud and tell people and not have to hide it anymore. Yeah, it's not been the easiest couple of months trying to hide what's going on, especially work and everything, but it's out in the open now. I am 13 weeks tomorrow, so I'll be officially into my second trimester, which is another thing I'm excited for, because hopefully this sickness and extreme tiredness is going to disappear very shortly, but fingers crossed for that. But anyway, yeah, today is my official announcement video to you all, and I am planning on doing a bit of a pregnancy series, so if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to subscribe to my channel and you can follow along on my journey with me. I don't want to make this channel completely about pregnancy, baby, motherhood type stuff, but obviously with this being such a massive part of my life now, it is going to be something that's probably going to feature quite heavily on my channel going forward. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, like I say, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to be sharing my journey with you, the ups, the downs, the honest truth, hopefully some helpful things in there for you as well if you are on that trying to conceive journey yourself, or you're pregnant yourself and you just want a little bit of support. We can do this together. So in this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about sort of deciding to start trying for a baby. Some of the things that I did sort of once I decided that, or we decided that we wanted to start trying, and then tracking ovulation and things like that. So I'm going to touch on all of that. Also, some of my concerns that I had in terms of concerns with getting pregnant and with pregnancy, and just a little bit about the journey so far, really. So we decided last year that we wanted to start trying for a baby at some point, and originally the plan had sort of been maybe 2024 would be a good time to start. And then I think it was really when we were on holiday in Turkey around September time last year, we had quite a few conversations around the subject, and also this and me coming off the pill. So that's something that we talked about separately as well, because that was something that I'd wanted to do for a little while, and Sam also was sort of the view that I should probably come off it because I've been on it for so long. And this is something I'll touch upon a little bit more when I come on to my concerns around the whole getting pregnant thing. But yeah, we had a few conversations about both trying for a child and also coming off the pill. And then it was when we came back off holiday, we thought, well, why not come off the pill now, sort of see what happens at first, because we weren't sure how long it might take for me to get my period back and things like that. So come off the pill, see what happens. So we weren't actively sort of trying for that first month or so. But yeah, the decision at that point had been made that we were going to start trying for it. So some of the things that I did more or less straight away, obviously, as I say, we weren't sure how long this was all going to take, but I wanted to make sure that I was doing all the right things and doing everything possible to make sure this happened as quickly as possible, I suppose. So as soon as we had decided that we were going to start trying and I came off the pill, I also stopped drinking. So not completely, but definitely, I think I went a whole month at first without drinking anything, and then as Christmas came along and also we had our trip to Dublin and things like that, I was still drinking then, but not excessively. So that was one of the changes, one of the first changes that I made. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do that. In fact, I think that doctors really suggest that you just carry on as normal. You don't need to make any drastic changes, but for me that was just something that I wanted to do personally. One of the other things that I did was I started taking folic acid at that point. So they recommend that you start taking it 3 months before you conceive. And again, because I wasn't sure how long everything was going to take, I thought may as well just start taking it now so I'm prepared. So that was something I started in October time, and I'm still taking it now. So as you may or may not know, they do recommend that you take folic acid up until at least 12 weeks of pregnancy. And then the last thing was vitamin C and D. I started taking those as well, just as an extra supplement not only for pregnancy but just to make myself feel better as well. So I think vitamin D definitely during these darker months is good to take for anybody, but again that's something that they do recommend for pregnancy. So I started taking all of those once we started trying to conceive. I'll talk a little bit about my concerns now because I think it'll just make a bit more sense when I move on to the next topic that I want to talk about. But as I mentioned with the pill, that was one of my main concerns, I would say. So I had been on the pill since I was 16, I think. Now I'm 34 now, so that is a long time to be taking, you know, synthetic hormones basically. And I know they say that taking the pill for a prolonged period of time shouldn't have any effect on your ability to conceive, but I don't know, in my head I was just thinking it must have done some damage somewhere. Like, surely taking the pill for that long, it's going to have affected me somehow. And I was convinced that I was not ever going to be able to have a child, if I'm being honest with you. So I stopped taking the pill at the end of September, and then I had my withdrawal bleed a week later, so exactly as it should have been. And then luckily, really luckily, and I do feel so grateful for this, I actually got my natural period back exactly a month after. So everything was like right on track where it should have been. And I say I'm so grateful because I know some women who've come off the pill and it's literally taken them a year to get their period back. And that was one of my other concerns with it. So not only, you know, has this pill messed my body up completely and my ability to ever have a child, but also, you know, how long is it going to take for my body to sync back up and for me to get my periods back. So I was really concerned that, you know, this could take, well, potentially it could take years for this to happen. And that was one of the other reasons for sort of saying, do you know what, why wait? Because at the end of the day, we're both in our 30s now. We've decided this is what we want. We want to be together forever. We want a family. So why put it off any longer? Because, you know, it could potentially take a while for this to happen for us, if ever. But yeah, I'm super, super grateful that I did get my period back, as I say, exactly a month after. And I was back to my regular sort of 28-day cycles. So luckily that wasn't a concern for us in the end, but it was definitely something that I was worried about when we first entered this journey. One of my other concerns, as I just mentioned, I am 34 now, and I know that's not necessarily old, but in terms of motherhood, it is sort of approaching that older age bracket. And yeah, again, that has been a concern for me in terms of, you know, can I still have children? I mean, I've not hit menopause or anything like that yet, so, you know, you'd hope for the best, but you just never know, do you? And I know once you get past that 35 mark, you are into the sort of higher risk category. So again, it was just another thing playing on my mind, another concern, and another reason why I didn't want to you know, wait too long to actually get started on trying. Luckily in the end it wasn't anything to worry about, or at least nothing to worry about yet. Obviously we've conceived naturally and quickly and everything seems to be going really well in the pregnancy so far. But yeah, just talking open and honest in terms of the concerns that I did have, that was definitely on the list. And my third big concern, which might sound silly to some people, but I know a lot of you out there will also relate, was the thought of morning sickness. Now, I suffer with something called emetophobia, which, if you don't know what that means, it is a fear of sick. And it does affect me quite badly. To be honest, I would say I'm on the worst end of the scale when it comes to that. And I'll be honest, the thought of being pregnant and having to suffer morning sickness is something that for a lot of my life really put me off ever wanting to have children, because I just didn't think I'd be able to cope with it at all. It's something that really did scare me, if I'm honest, entering this whole journey. But I guess I just told myself that, you know, if I do get really poorly, I know why I'm feeling like this, I know what it's for, and it's all going to be worth it in the end. So that sort of, I won't say convinced me, because obviously I want a child. You know, anything is going to be worth the final outcome of all of this, but it is probably the one thing that I've been the most scared and concerned about throughout this pregnancy and before getting pregnant as well. However, I will say now, disclaimer, is it disclaimer? I don't know. But I have not been physically sick at all, touch wood, throughout this whole pregnancy so far. And as I say, I'm going to be into my second trimester tomorrow. So this window of where you'd have thought the morning sickness would happen is almost over. Now, that is not to say that I haven't felt horrendous and I haven't felt the sickest I've ever felt in my whole life, but in terms of physically being sick, that hasn't happened for me. So if you are somebody that suffers with this yourself and are worried about, you know, what's going to happen with morning sickness for you, now I can't, obviously everybody's different, everyone's going to have different symptoms, but I can tell you now from my own experience that it does not happen to 100% of women, because it hasn't happened to me. And in terms of dealing with the nausea, yeah, it's not been pleasant at all. It has been a tough time. Like the past sort of 2 months have been quite rough, but I have managed, I have coped with it, and I am going to be doing a separate video on how I've sort of survived and managed my first trimester, and I'm going to focus quite heavily on this subject in that video, which will be coming up probably in a couple of weeks time. So if this is a subject that is sort of close to your heart or something that you would like some advice or help on, then please stay tuned for that video, because hopefully that will help some of you guys that might be in a similar situation. Quite briefly, those there were my sort of main concerns entering this, as I say, this journey, and all my concerns really haven't been too much of a worry for me at all. So that's hopefully a sort of positive message to you if you are worrying or you're concerned about any of the things that I've mentioned in this video so far. So now I'll move on to tracking ovulation, and I'd say this is what has helped me to conceive pretty quickly. So we managed to conceive on the second cycle try-in, which again I'm so grateful for. I'm so lucky that it happened for us this quickly. But yeah, I would definitely recommend tracking your ovulation if you are looking to conceive quickly. I would say that it's quite easy to get a little bit obsessive over some of these things. I like to be all nice and organised, and I like to track things, and I've got my little book here which I'm going to show you in a second in terms of, well, you'll see all my ovulation sticks. I'll sort of go through that, so if you're new to tracking ovulation, then hopefully this will give you a little bit of help in terms of what you need to do, or what I did anyway, what helped me, the signs to look out for, and yeah, so we will look at that now. Now there are different ways to track your ovulation. I decided to go down the route of using ovulation sticks. You can buy these dead cheap off Amazon, and I bought the pack which had the ovulation sticks and the pregnancy test in there as well. I think it's about £10 for 50 of these things, so dead affordable, and also handy with the pregnancy test sticks as well, so you don't have to spend a fortune on pregnancy tests basically. I started tracking in November, which was after, it was my second period after coming off the pill, so that's when we started trying properly, I would say. And I started, I'll show you all of this in more detail in a second, but I started tracking on cycle day 9, so that's 9 days after the first day of your period. So your cycle starts on day 1 of your period. So I started tracking on day 9 because I wasn't really sure. It's the first time I'd done this. I wasn't really sure when I should start, but I thought, so as not to miss my peak, we'll start then. And I think they suggest that you test sort of early afternoon time, so not first morning urine, but later on in the day. I'll be honest, what have I got here? I tended to just do AM and PM, so I was testing twice a day. So normally first thing in the morning roughly, and then again in the afternoon, because again I didn't want to miss the peak. So we started on cycle day 9, and then let's see if we can see on the camera here. It might be better if I take the camera off here in a sec and I can show you a little bit more closely. So we started up here on cycle day 9, and then so you can see here you've got the control line, which is the dark line, and then the test line. So on an ovulation strip, on like a pregnancy test, every day you will get a line on the test line. What you're looking for is for the test line to be as dark as or darker than the control line, and then that indicates your peak. Ovulation then occurs, I think it's 16 to 36 hours or 12 to 36 hours after that peak. So again, it's not sort of guaranteed, but you'll get a rough idea on the window of when you are ovulating. So I got my peak on this month, where are we? Around cycle day 14. So we can see cycle day 14. You can see, where is it here? That my test line is as dark as the control line. So I ovulated, I assume, around cycle day 15 that month. So this is obviously the month where we didn't catch. But if we have a look here, the following month, so into December, I started tracking that month on cycle day 8, and I actually got my peak earlier that month. So it's good that I actually started testing a little bit earlier, because I got my peak cycle day 11. I know everything's a bit backwards, but you can see up here the dark lines here. So cycle day 11, 12 is when I got my peak there. And then I think I ovulated, it was that Monday. I think it was cycle day 12 because I felt it. So yeah, that's basically the ovulation strips there. So if, as I say, if you're new to it, you'll see you've always got a line here. It'll get darker and darker until you hit your peak, and then it will tail off again. Some people also measure their temperature. As you can see, I've got some readings on there, but to be honest, it didn't really work for me, because you have to do it literally as soon as you wake up in the morning. And because I don't sleep well, it's very rare that I just wake up, I'm like, oh, I'm normally tossing and turning for ages before like my alarm goes off, or I actually wake up, or then I'd forget, or yeah, it wasn't gonna work for me basically. But the ovulation strips, to be honest, were absolutely fine. What I also did use, I almost forgot to mention, was an app. So I'd looked at different apps, because I know you can pay for some of them, and I thought I'm gonna get a free one just to sort of see how it goes, and then, you know, if we're not successful after a few months, then maybe I'll pay for one, maybe it'll be a little bit better and help me more. But I didn't need to in the end. So the app that I actually used is this one here. It's asking me to review it. So it's called Ovulation Calculator. It's a bit of a shadow on there, but that's what it looks like in the app. And let's have a look. And I'll be honest, it's quite basic, but it had all the information that I needed in here. So it allows you to import information every day in terms of like any symptoms, how you're feeling. So if you've had a headache, or you're feeling bloated, if you can obviously track your periods in there. You can track the days that you've had sex, and it sort of estimates your ovulation day. Now obviously it's not going to be exact, but you can also then update that. So if you know you've ovulated on a certain day, you can update it, and then it makes your cycles a little bit more accurate in here as well. So if we just look, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but you can see the pink here is like my period or predicted period. This is the month again that we conceived, and then you can track, well, it tracks your fertile period, so you know which days you should be having sex to hopefully catch your ovulation and get pregnant. So if what I'll say, because I don't want to ramble on too much in this video, if you would like me to do a separate video on tracking ovulation and a little bit more detail in terms of what I've done and what's worked for me, then leave me a comment below, because I don't mind doing a separate video on it. I'm just conscious I don't want this whole video just to be on tracking ovulation. But yeah, I can recommend Ovulation Calculator free app, which really helped me with tracking my periods, tracking my ovulation, and yeah, in the end I'd say it really helps with managing to conceive as well. So I would definitely recommend that app alongside the easy at home ovulation strips as well. I'll just show you quickly the pregnancy tests as well. So you get the ovulation strips in the pack, and then the pregnancy tests as well, which are the pink ones. So those are my positive tests in there, you can see. So that was cycle 2, which was our successful month. Before I go, just 2 last little things. I will show you our little bean. So we had our 12-week scan on Wednesday on Valentine's Day, which was really cute. So in case you're interested, here is how our little bean is progressing. So yeah, we did have a scan at 8 weeks as well, and it's just crazy to see the development just in those 4 weeks. So yeah, baby is doing really well, wriggly little thing, did not want to sit still at all, but yeah, managed to get some nice pictures. So there is baby. And the other thing, if you're interested, we'll do a little bump update. So I don't really have much of a bump at the minute, and to be honest, I think a lot of what's there is just bloat and food because my diet has been terrible. So I have already put on quite a bit of weight, but hey, what can you do, eh? What can you do? So this might be a bit awkward, but let's see. So a little bump, just a little one there. I take my top up. So as I say, there's not too much to show at the minute. There is a little bump forming there. And I mean, naturally I've got a very flat tummy, so for me that is quite a big difference. But I know, yeah, there's not too much to see yet, but we'll keep that updated as we go along. But all very, very exciting. So I think I'm going to leave this video here, because I do feel like I've rambled on a little bit. The whole point was the announcement and getting that out to all of you. So I'm super happy I can finally talk about it. I feel like I am getting my energy back, so I've just not been in the mood at all. I've had no motivation. I've felt so rubbish. I've just not wanted to sit in front of a camera and do anything. And also not being able to talk about this massive thing that's going on. It has been pretty tough, so I am going to be doing more videos going forward. I know I've said this a million times, but I promise this time. I have got a video going up soon, which is going to be my 2-week wait symptoms, which hopefully will be again of interest to some of you. Then I've got my first trimester symptoms coming up, and I will also film that video about how to survive your first trimester. Apart from that, I've got loads of plans for videos coming up. So as I said earlier, if that's of interest to you and you want to follow my journey, then you can follow me on Instagram if you want. I'll leave my handle below, and also you can subscribe to this channel, and I will be posting on here nice and regular now. So as I say, you can follow along. Give this video a like, and yeah, that is all from me for now. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.